Blues Martin's here. We have today Erin Harpe. Where are you today?
Hey, Colin. I am in Manchester near the airport, and we're getting ready to do the Isle of Man leg of our UK tour. Well, yeah.
How's the UK tour going? You've got a lot of dates.
Yeah, I think it's the most we've ever done on one of our UK tours, and I believe this is our sixth one. So it's been intense and really fun.
Played any good venues? What's been the vibe?
Yeah, I mean, they've all been great. We've had a couple of sold out shows, couple of really unique venues. We were up in what was it called? It's not too far from you. I think it's Alnwick. It's Alnwick, and that was right on the seaside. That was beautiful. Where else was? We've just been all over. Where have we been, Jim?
No.
It's kind of overwhelming to
Everywhere.
remember, but we've had a lot of the great shows where we've been before, and so every time we go back, we have great friends kind of all over the country. So we started out in Wales in what is it called? Brecon, and after our gig in Brecon, we were actually asked to play next year at the Tenby Blues Festival. So we were there last year, and that was a ton of fun, really fun festival.
Right, let's take you right back. What made you want to become a musician in the first place?
Well, I don't know if I never sort of thought it out, but I just happened to I learned how to play guitar from my dad when I was in high school. And he plays the kind of blues that we're doing on this tour, which is acoustic blues, fingerstyle, and most of it's vintage stuff from back in the 1930s. A lot of Memphis Minnie, Mississippi John Hurt, and stuff like that. So my dad played it every day of my life. He would play that kind of stuff. And he had played in a group called Franklin Harp and Usselton, and they were an acoustic blues trio in the Washington, D.C. area. The tour
So when did
life.
you first go on stage?
Well, actually, when I started learning, well, before that, there was a small local folk festival in the Washington, D.C. area that my dad used to play every year. And he would play with some really excellent artists like Cephas and Wiggins and Eleanor Ellis, John Jackson, all these Piedmont blues players. And when I learned how to play, they actually invited me to go up on stage and play a couple of songs when I think I must have been about 17 or 18. And that was just a thrill. And I got to play alongside Eleanor Ellis, who's one of my sort of mentors. She's another person. Actually, Eleanor Ellis just put out an album recently, and some of them are old tracks from back in the 80s, 90s, and some of them include my dad on them. So I got to play with her. We always play the chauffeur blues at the Memphis Minnie song, Chauffeur Blues. Won't you be my chauffeur?
And what took you to the Piedmont style? What got you into the Piedmont style?
Well, that's the kind. I never really realized it was called Piedmont blues until sort of people started calling it that. When I was a kid, it was just blues. I thought it was just what blues was. I used to think that Delta blues just meant acoustic blues, but actually now I realize it's a totally different style. Piedmont blues is just what my dad played and everybody in the scene. So it's very upbeat and rhythmic and danceable, but it's acoustic. Fingerstyle. So you play like in Delta blues, you might play like a different type of a bass line with your thumb, sort of like the same note. But with Piedmont blues, you're always playing an alternating bass with your thumb. So that's kind of and I always everything I play kind of goes through that prism because that's what I grew up with.
And did you find it easy or hard to play the guitar at first?
I found it easy, actually. It was surprising because I had played the flute previously when I was, they came into your school with these small, cute little instruments and they sold me on the flute. But the flute was quite a bit of work. You had to read music and you had to do sight reading and stuff like that. But with the guitar, I just sort of learned it on a whim. When I was a teenager, my dad played it. Like I said, I wanted to impress somebody at school. There was a boy that knew all the words to Alice's Restaurant. And actually, that's a blues song. It's not necessarily called a blues song, but it's just like a lot of the songs that I play now. So I went home, I said, Dad, I need to learn this. And he was like, oh, that's hard. That's going to take a while. You're not going to be able to learn that before the end of the school year. But I took to it real fast. And within a week, I could get by with that song. I really seem to have kind of internalized it just from watching my dad and listening to him so much.
What about playing live? How did you learn to read a crowd and your stagecraft and things like that?
Well, I was really shy at first. So I do remember playing at sort of open mics when I was younger, and I would freeze because I would get so scared I would actually forget the lyrics. So it did take a long time. I think a lot of that came from when I met my partner Jim, who plays in this duo with me, and he's on the album. The new album. He said, let's start a band. So we ended up starting kind of a rock world music ska band called Lovewhip. And we played many, many gigs. We would have like a horn section and a percussionist. So it was a little bit easier because I didn't have to be. I was right up front singing, but I had all this support. So I learned how to hype up the crowd and eventually how to play more like solo type guitar stuff. But then fast forward to 2010, we started our band Erin Harpe and the Delta Swingers, which is our blues version of Electric Band. And we went to the International Blues Challenge. And that was really where I started stepping it up kind of, because I had a lot of experience with gigs, but I didn't have, I don't know, it's weird being judged with music. I don't really like that, but we did get a lot of great comments and I would take them to heart. It's like, oh, okay, well, if I set up the set list in a certain way, or if I, tell stories in a certain way, then it'll get through more to the audience. So it was just, I mean, how many gigs have we done together? I think we've done like thousands of gigs. So I think that's a big part of it. But also being in the studio, we've done lots of albums and 14 albums with both bands and as well as acoustic stuff. It's, you got to put the time in.
And what's your take on the blues? What does the blues mean to you as an artist?
Well, it feels to me like home, because when I hear blues playing, it just reminds me of my childhood. Or a lot of times I'll hear a performer like, um, I was lucky enough to play a gig at a festival recently with Corey Harris, if you know him.
Mm-hmm.
He's somebody that I had his albums when I was in high school, and I really love him. And he played a lot of songs that I recognize from when my dad used to play, and I just had a huge smile on my face and I was just so enjoying it. But also there's so much history in it, and I think just listening to these old songs, you can tell a lot about what happened back in the early 1900s and what was going on and the struggles people were going through. It's especially like, look at somebody like Memphis Minnie, and she was a female back then playing, well, for one thing, she was playing guitar, and women they were not, people didn't want women to play guitar. They were supposed to play the piano in the parlor and be all, proper. And a guitar was something that you could take with you on the road, and you could, people didn't want their women to go start running around with a guitar. Guess that was pretty risque or something. So Memphis Minnie has, she had to carry a knife in her boot, and she was quite she could drink with the men and she could play guitar just as good as them and wrote songs and everything. So I just find that so inspiring.
What is it like being a female in this genre nowadays?
Well, it always feels like you're the odd one out, sometimes in a good way. But I do love when I find another woman that plays blues guitar, especially fingerstyle guitar. So you don't see that as much. There's a young woman, Miranne Bradley. Do you know her? So I kind of met her on YouTube a few years back. I think it might have been right after she began playing, because she started playing during the pandemic. And I was just so excited. She played a lot of the stuff that I play, and she's so good and she's so young. So I reached out to her and I said, I love this. You're doing a great job. And she said, oh my goodness, I am a fan of you and your dad. And so her and her dad, she learned from her dad. And similarly, I learned from my dad. So we have a connection. I just get so inspired by that. And we've met a number of different cool musicians on this tour. We played with a group called Casper and Lucy, and she's an inspiring woman in the blues, plays drums, and we ended up all playing together, and we have plans to do more of that. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you go to the International Blues Challenge, though, for instance, and I feel like sometimes women don't kind of advance as much as the men. It's a little bit harder. It's hard to say why, but for me, it's not just that I'm a woman, but it's that I play the Piedmont blues, which is kind of a more gentler style. And when you're in a competition, whatever's glitzy and the loudest kind of gets moved forward. We've gotten to the semifinals, but I've never gotten to the finals. And I feel like it's because I'm not playing some loud slide guitar. And I
Right.
do stomp my feet, but I kind of just keep the beat. I'm not just like, the hill country blues is very, very popular right now with
Yeah.
the duos.
Yeah.
I love
You're not gonna
stuff.
you're not electric.
No, I mean, I do play electric and I do a lot of
Mm.
fingerstyle with electric actually, but no, yeah.
Yeah.
I like doing like a down home front porch kind of blues. That's really my roots, even though I can play a lot of other stuff.
It's always what it sounds like in a small venue when you play a small venue. Have you any preferences, a smaller venue or festivals?
Well, I love a small venue, and let me tell you why. I like to be able to look right in people's faces, because I like to have a conversation with the people. And, if I tell a joke, I like to see the expression on their face, or sometimes they talk back to me and we can have a little back and forth. So that's my very favorite. But, of course, festivals are fun and they're a thrill. And I think there should be more acoustic blues that is showcased at festivals. I think that people in the blues tend to go towards the blues rock, and that if they would
Mm.
know more about this is the roots of the blues. So it didn't come out of the barn sounding like Eric Clapton. Of course he knew that, but some people don't know that. So you have to go back and see, okay, what came before that? Okay, Robert Johnson, Tommy Johnson, Leighton Hopkins, Memphis Minnie. There's all this thing, and they all have such great songs and stories. I think it's great that that there has been some attention on that. Like Sue Foley, if you know her, she had that album. Her last album was an acoustic fingerstyle blues album, and
Yeah, she did some Piedmont on that as well.
yes, indeed. And I met her recently, and she said that the Memphis Minnie song on the album, she actually had looked at my DVD, which I did with Stefan Grossman. So she's,
Right.
there's influences going back and forth, and we're
Yeah.
planning to do something together at some point. But she's
Oh,
great.
what does success mean to you?
Paying the bills. No, paying the bills is that's the, it's if I can get really fun gigs and book tours, then I feel like that it's a success. I don't want the kind of, I don't feel like I need to sell out 1,000 venue places. That I don't even know if I want to even do that. Looking back at some of the people that came before me in the scene that with my dad, Mississippi John Hurt, actually, he played folk festivals, and that was probably one of the heights of his career. But I think as a Piedmont blues musician, you don't expect to be, on the Tonight Show or something, on television. Yeah, I mean, Roy Bookbinder used to be on the big TV
Hmm.
shows back in the 60s and 70s, but it's a different world now. Folk music is not as big as it used to be, and this is kind of more of a folk blues. So to me, success would be if I could find more help to help us in our career. We would love to have a booking agent that could book us around Europe. Right now, we're doing the UK, and we do work in Spain because we have some friends there that help us out. But people keep asking me to come to Belgium, come to
Mm.
Netherlands, come to Germany, do all these things. We want to, but it's really just me and Jim, and we have a couple of other people that help us. So if we could find someone that wants to help do some of the background stuff. Because right now we're on tour, and today is a day off, so we have a lot of things we're trying to do that we have been putting off because I've just
Yeah.
been driving and driving.
And what motivates you to keep doing what you're doing?
I just want to spread it. I just want to sing for people. I really love singing. I get a lot of people saying that they love my singing and playing, but most people notice my voice first, and I want it to be heard. I like singing for people, and I love to get people feeling the feelings of the songs and stuff.
And vocally, who are your heroes?
Well, I have to definitely mention Bonnie Raitt. She was a big
Mm.
early. I listened to a lot of her over the years. especially her early albums, and I love her voice. It took me a little while to realize that I didn't wanna sing like Bonnie Raitt.
Right.
You know, I know Susan Tedeschi is somebody that I met in Boston, and she just does it. She sings just like Bonnie Raitt to me. I when I first heard her, I thought I was close my eyes, I could it's Bonnie Raitt. But for me, I think that I started singing well once I found my own voice, so I wasn't trying to sing like anybody, but there's a lot of people who over the years I started trying to sing like Memphis Minnie at first, so
Mm.
I have some old recordings where I sound a lot different, but, you know, I love Coco Taylor, um um, you know, a lot of the male singers, you know, Tommy Johnson, Willie Brown, all these old so I've listened to a lot of different things and I just like I keep singing the songs, but I think I've learned a lot about vocals through listening for so long. But I like to go away and not listen to the like if I'm learning a new song, I'll hear the originals, maybe I'll hear some different versions, and then I'm gonna stop listening to that and just sing and sing until I get to my place with it.
And with songwriting, do you have a style of songwriting?
Well, I often will start out with like, okay, I want to do like a Memphis Minnie type thing, and I'll listen to some Memphis Minnie, and I mean, it's really just I just pick whatever I have a okay. When I'm listening to music, I tend to keep a list of everything that's really making me feel like, "Ooh, like that's something I wanna do." So I just have a very long list of songs that it won't be a song just like that, but it's something in the feeling of the song or something about the structure and the arrangement of the song that I want to try to play around with, and, you know, it's not the same every time. Sometimes I'll come home from a long drive touring somewhere and I'll immediately write a song
Mm.
based on just everything I listened to that day. And other times I'll sit down and try to work out, okay, what kind of like if we did a Christmas album, it's like what kind of thing can I think of for that? It's I wish I was the kind of writer that sat down every day, but I haven't got there yet.
So going on to your new album with Mississippi John Hurt, talk about how that came about.
Well, my dad plays a lot of Memphis blah, 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 Mississippi, not Memphis, moving to Mississippi. Mississippi John Hurt was just a huge part of the catalog of everybody that I knew growing up. You know, everybody seemed to play Mississippi John Hurt around the Washington, D.C. area. He actually spent time in Washington, D.C. too, but I that was before
Right.
my time. I couldn't have met him. It wouldn't have been possible, but my dad never crossed paths with him, but he almost could have because he was hanging out at the Archie's Barbershop. Archie Edwards Barbershop was the place where everybody would get together and play Piedmont style blues in Washington, D.C. Anyway, so that was my background. I knew a couple of his songs and I knew them all from listening to my dad. I just didn't have them in my repertoire yet. So what spurred it off though, as far as doing an album, I don't know if you've heard of this venue called Cafe Lena in New York. It's a famous folk club where uh, Bob Dylan and all kinds of
Mm.
different folk artists played back in the 60s. So friends of mine were putting on fundraiser for Mississippi John Hurt, and it was a tribute night. So I was thinking like, well, I don't know if I just want to play the same three ones I always play. So I went, started listening, and then I started putting together, I always put together a playlist of songs that I'm thinking about playing.
Right.
And the playlist just kept getting longer and longer and longer. It must be 50 songs, you know? So I said, well, this definitely has to be an album. I want to learn all these ones that I kind of know them from my dad, but I just want to put my own stamp on them and figure out like, well, how would I sing that? I know how my
Yeah.
dad sings it. I know how, you know, other people in the scene sing it. And it was just so much fun. I just, you know, I'd say there's at least a year and a half where I was listening and trying out stuff and in between touring, and then we would demo stuff and finally had some time in between tours and put the whole album down. We recorded it in our living room.
Right. And were they all one takes?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. The last album was almost one takes, but I did a little overdubbing and some other backing vocals and stuff and some percussion and things. No, this album I think that I think when I sing and play at the same time, I do both better, and it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like what you would imagine, but it's I don't know, there's something about singing and playing for me that I get more into it, and, course, put an audience in front, it's even better, but we didn't have an audience because we didn't have room. We have a very small apartment in Boston.
But was that a thought behind the choices of tunes, how it would sound live?
No. I mean, I just went with my love of them, and then what was sort of happening with the arrangements I came up with, and so I was like, "Well, this one," and I tried to also do them in different keys. So, because a lot of the
Yeah.
ones I knew originally were in the key of C, and then some of the guitar parts are slightly more similar. So I wanted to vary the different ones. And then when I heard Let the Mermaids Flirt with Me, I was like, whoa, because this is a different type of a song. I mean, it sounds like a Jimmy Rogers song, the yodeling cowboy. And when I heard it, also, I just felt so touched by it because of Jimmy Rogers, I think. I was like, I know that. And I figured it out which song it was. And then I read about it, and Mississippi John Hurt was actually asked to do a song that was by the record label that would do something kind of like this Jimmy Rogers song. So that one I had to do because it was just so unique and also just so evocative as a title of an album. I just love mermaids. I just love the idea of mermaids. I live near the ocean in Boston, and a friend of mine is a great artist who does pictures of mermaids. So he did the T-shirt, which is a T-shirt
Right.
is me and Jim sitting there playing guitar along the coast, and then the mermaids are watching and flirting with us. But what else? So I wanted to do a book of tablature with the album as well. That was part of the plan from the beginning. So it's another reason why I wanted to make sure there were different styles of picking and different licks and
Right.
different keys that I did. So I got a bunch of different keys. There's C, G, D, E. That's all I can think of, but yeah.
And talk about some of the songs, like say Casey Jones.
Yes. Casey Jones is actually one I've been playing for the longest. And I've done different recordings of that. We did a recording of that with our band, the Delta Swingers, and that was with the drums. We got a kind of a different feel on that. So when Jim and I started doing it as a duo, we kind of worked it a different way, and we'd have some really cool times where we matched the bass and the guitar together. And it's a very, it's a murder ballad, like I like to tell people. And so there's a lot of feeling that you can put into that song. So Casey Jones is a great one. Oh, and Jim plays the train whistle on that one, which is kind of unique. So we made train whistles for the merchandise that you can get on our website. And those are both ones that I've been playing for a long time. So Frankie is in G, and that's the murder ballad. But then there's another one about murder. I need to get the album and go look at what the titles are. But yeah, I tried to do there's some songs about murder. There's a lot of those. It's surprising because Mississippi John Hurt seems like such a sweet person, and his songs are just about all kinds of things. There's Candyman. And Candyman is a song that I like to joke about because it was really one of my favorites as a kid that my dad used to do. And when he would play it, I thought it was a song about candy, but it is not a song about candy at all.
No.
Now as an adult, I can appreciate that. And I have a lot of fun with singing it and kind of, pointing out those parts that are kind of funny.
I like your version of Make Me a Palette.
Oh, thank you.
well.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too.
That is
People tend to sing along to that too.
yeah. And You Are My Sunshine.
Yeah, well, this has been interesting. Like Jim told me not to play that one last night because we were in the north. I guess people here sing it for the football teams or something like that.
Yeah, there's a
And
chant.
so we had to watch out where we sing it. But people tend to know it here, which I was not sure if they would because we hear it as kids, singing it. But Mississippi John Hurt, he didn't put that on one of his studio albums, but it was on one of his live albums. And he doesn't even sing most of the words. He just goes, "You are my sunshine," and then he just lets the audience sing the rest.
Yeah.
So I bet he felt similar to me that he loved to have that audience participation and being able to react, go back and forth with the crowd.
Seeing the whites of their eyes.
Yeah.
As you said before.
I don't know. That sounds like they're angry. I don't know if we want the whites of their eyes. I like the whites of their teeth. No, that sounds
Whites
bad.
of teeth. Oh, good grief. As long as they're not Turkish teeth.
I don't know what that means.
There's a tendency for young people to get their teeth painted, just about.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I digress. What's the best advice you've had in your career, would you say, and from whom?
Yeah, I can't really think of much advice.
Most people tell us not to do it.
Yeah, a lot people say, well, we met Chris France and Tina Weymouth, but we got to open for them with our band Lovewhip,
Yeah.
and they said from the Talking Heads, and they said, don't get into this because of, fame or fortune. It's a lifestyle, and it's a very hard lifestyle. So if you're going to do it, you have to like that. You have to be able to thrive with that. And I think actually that's probably one of the main reasons I'm able to do it is because Jim and I both we thrive on it. We love to be on the road together. It's very hard sometimes. There's times where I'm driving on the left side of the road and I'm going, I don't want to do this again. This is so hard. But when we get to the club and we see all the people, it's just there's nothing like it. So it's
What would be advice
give
that
the same
you would
advice.
tell people?
Yeah, that's the same advice I tell people is don't get into it because you want to have a million friends on social media, Well, I mean, there's different ways you can do it now, I guess. So you can do that, if you want to, you just try to figure out what you want to do with it. If you want to be touring, it's not as easy as it seems. It seems like so much fun but behind the scenes somebody has had to book all those shows, book all the hotels, rent the car, drive the car on the other side of the road. What else? Loading in. Oh my goodness. Last night was an interesting gig because we don't have an ability to bring music equipment with us. Like we don't have any mic stands, we don't have any speakers, we just have our guitars. So last night we showed up and there was a mic stand, but there was no mic clip. And we're like, okay, we'll just tape them on. Okay. But then they gave us a mic stand and it was a straight mic stand. So then we took a drumstick and we taped them up. Anyway, we made it happen, but that's the kind of thing you can't just get there and be upset. You have to get there and say, okay,
Oh, yeah.
we're going to make this happen. It's going to happen. It's going to be a great show. That's what we had an old booking agent who used to say, it's going to be a great show, right? It's going to be a great show. I say, yes. So it's not for the faint of heart, but it is, you can, if you can't deal with that, then just be a bedroom musician. You can play, you can do videos, you can do recordings, or you can play, locally. But being a touring musician is a lot of work. It's worth it if it's what you love. If it's not, we've had people that we've had to send them home on a bus from a tour. We were all the way in Utah and somebody couldn't hack it. So it happens.
What are your hopes and fears for this new album then?
Fears?
Hopes.
Yeah, well, hopes. Mostly hopes.
Yeah, mostly hopes. Exactly. Well, it's interesting because we left the country right before it came out. And so there was a lot of work involved in that. I'm a graphic designer, so I've designed the cover and everything like that. So it's almost like leaving was a relief. It's like, oh, I don't have to do any more work, but I can't do any more work. But then we got some notice that we got our album charted. Like we got a #1 single, on one of the acoustic blues charts, Music Report. And we got here and people said, oh, I heard your song on BBC Radio 2. And then the next week, I heard your song on BBC Radio 2, but it's a different show. So it's very exciting. I always hope that it's going to be well received, but I have I have to temper myself realizing that acoustic blues is a tiny segment of a blues, which is a small amount of all the music in the world that comes out, there's pop music, there's country music, everything is bigger than the blues. And this is just a tiny sliver of the blues. So I don't expect world domination, but if I could we're getting a lot of great reviews and radio airplay. And I guess if I could have my wish, I would love a nomination from the Blues Foundation. That would be great. I don't expect it, but if it happened, I would be
Well, you just never know.
You never know.
And what about the future? Have you got any plans, any new projects, working on anything?
Well, I'm looking forward to when we get home, we're going to have some time that I can start. I have a lot of ideas for recordings I want to do because I am a producer and I produce my own albums. So I have a number of different things I want to do, from collaborations with some other acoustic blues
Right.
artists that I would like to do. I want to do some more stuff with my band, the Delta Swingers, and my band Lovewhip. We already started a sort of a reggae album. Jim and I got married in Jamaica, and we love reggae. So we have a demo ready for that, for Lovewhip. And then
Sounds good.
also my next serious project that I definitely know is I've started the tribute albums, and I do workshops and teaching. So I want to do
Mhm.
another one, and it's probably going to be Memphis Minnie next, even
Right.
though there's going to be another Mississippi John Hurt, because I just have so many songs I want to do of him. So that'll be volume 1, and then we'll do volume 1 of Memphis Minnie. That's my plan.
And as an educator, what kind of questions do you get asked as well about the blues?
All kinds of questions. People want to know mostly about how to play it. How do you do that thing with your thumb? I do this little popping thing that's kind of unique. I don't know where it came from. I just my own personal style. People want to know, what was Memphis Minnie's life like, or what kind of guitars did people play? And that's an interesting question, because my dad his name's Neil Harpe. Not only did I learn from him, but he's written a book about Stella guitars, and he knows what guitar each person played. And I have a number of vintage guitars at home as well that I don't take them on the road, but I'm planning to do some videos with those to showcase some of
Okay.
the guitars that were behind. What did people play in the 30s? I have a couple of 30s guitars I could show you.
Excellent. And have you got one last thing to say to Blues Matters public?
Well, Blues Matters is a cool magazine, and I know several people that I'm friends with that have to do with it. And I just love I love the British love of the blues, and especially the acoustic blues. We really appreciate the audiences here. They're fabulous, and we'll keep coming back, because it's one of our favorite places in the world to play is the United Kingdom. Yeah, England, Wales, Scotland, Isle of Man. And we have not been to Ireland yet, but I very much want to. Just need some connections over there. Anybody, if you know any.
And of course, you're playing Edinburgh Blues Club on Sunday.
Yes. We're so excited to come back. It's been a few years. We didn't make it
A
up there
few
the
years
last.
now.
Yeah. So we're really looking forward to it, and go buy
Yeah.
tickets.
I'm looking forward to seeing you there, rather than
Same here.
seeing
It's
you
good.
here.
Looking forward to seeing you again in person.